Hi guys, welcome back. You join me again at Tamar Caravan Centre. They've kindly allowed me to use the unit again. It's a little bit blustery outside, raining, so couldn't do the job outside, so I'm going to do it inside. So, fitting the solar panel today. Let's see how we get on. These are a few of the things I'm going to need today: panel wipe, Silkaflex, masking tape, primer, the gland and the electrical accessories to connect the cables. First of all, I need to be making sure it's nice and clean. I want to get this roof bar thing removed. Next I need to get the panel on the roof to find out exactly where it's going to go and the point at which I need to drill in the roof for the cable entry point. First I'm going to drill a pilot hole from the inside of the van and then continue with the bigger hole on the outside. And then after this, because I've got bare metal, just need to put some primer on there to ensure that no water gets to the actual metal itself. So the gland itself should always have the cables entering from the rear of the vehicle. So I'm going to position that here, and then once I know where the gland's going, I can put the panel up close to it and then get the masking tape out and start masking around the panel so I can know exactly where the Silkaflex is going to go. So then with the masking tape all around the panel, I can take the panel off and start putting some Silkaflex on. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting this just on the raised ridges within the perimeter of the masking tape. So it's obviously going to sit flat on that. There's no point putting it down on the dips of the ridges because the panel isn't going to come into contact with that. So with plenty of bead on each of the raised bits, it's time to put the panel on. So now I'm just going to go all the way around the panel, pushing down relatively firmly on the raised ridges to ensure that there's good contact with the Silkaflex, the panel and the van itself. Going round now, removing all the masking tape just to leave some nice clean edges around the panel. And as you can see here, it's looking pretty good. So now to fit the gland. So the gland comes away with two screws, and what you've got two rubber bungs, I think they are. So one of them will go on the cable and it'll go on the entry, and then the other one will go underneath the gland for the cables to enter the van. And then on the hole which I've left in the van, which I've obviously drilled, because that could have some rough edges, you need to put a grommet in there to ensure that the cables are not rubbing against the side of the metalwork. Once the cables are in place, it's just a case of screwing it back together and then screwing it down onto the van. Underneath the gland itself, it's got a foam gasket type thing, so that'll keep the water out, but I'm just going to put some Silkaflex on the actual hole itself just to doubly make sure that no water is going to get in there, and then screw it down with the 3 screws in the 3 screwing points. So that's the external parts of it done. I do think it's actually looking quite a tidy job. So I'm just going to leave it now for a few hours, and then I'm going to continue when I get home connecting all the cables together. So what I've got here is I've got the 2 cables coming down from the roof, from the solar panel, and I've got cables which I've already ran from the front of the vehicle where the controller is going to be to the rear, so I just need to connect these together now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the MC4 connectors to connect the negative side, which I've labelled up, and for the positive side I'm actually going to have this fused just so I can disconnect it if I ever need to do any work on it. So we'll get all these connections crimped together, and then I've got a fuse which I can put in once I've wired up the front, which I'm going to do now. So I've got the SmartSolar controller, which is going to go in the driver's seat, which you'll have seen before if you've seen any of my previous videos. And it's got connections here, 2 for the PV for the panel, and then I'm going to connect the battery up as well. There is another 2 connections for load, but I'm not going to need them. Once I've wired it up, I'm going to pop the controller in this here with bolts coming through the side of the seat. So I've fed the cables through, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crimp some of these ferrules on the end so it gives an easy connection, so you don't get any frayed wires, etc. once you're putting it into the connections, and you can just screw them up. And I've prepared 2 other cables which I've marked up, one positive, one yellow, which is actually negative. This will go negative to the bus bar, and the positive it'll go direct to the battery, because you can't have anything going back through the battery protect. So at this stage I've just connected the panel up, and I'm just going to pop the fuse in, and once I've popped that fuse in, you will see that the blue light starts flashing. So now it's receiving power from the panel itself. So loading up my app, I can get into the app, click on that, put in the passcode, and obviously there's an update that needs doing. So I shall get the firmware updated. So of course when one update's done, it needs another update. One's for the Bluetooth, one's for the controller itself. So get both of these done. Once they're done, I can open up the app again and start to connect it to the rest of the system. So now each of the devices are going to be talking to each other, so the charge controller isn't going to be charging the battery when the temperature's too low, etc., or when it's already got enough power. Let's put the seat back together and test it out. The sun today is not out. As you might be able to hear, it's absolutely chucking it down, so I am not going to be getting very good results from the panel today. I'm going to do a future video where I will show it in action and what type of wattage I can get from it on a nice sunny day, overcast day, just to see how it is. But the battery's topped up anyway at the moment because I've been out for a drive, so it wouldn't actually be producing too much. So if you want to see the rest of my system which I've installed, have a look at that video here. Otherwise, take care and I shall see you soon.